Welcome to the EQ video tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. Thank you again for watching. And before we get into this week's tip, let's review the goals of EQ video tip. What's on tap for today? We have a great show, and it comes to us from Anna Lee Bayer, who talks about powerful one-liners that every parent needs to know. Now, I'm going to argue it's not just every parent, it's every person who's leading, any person who deals with another person, or who gets into conflict on a day-to-day basis. Because, let's face it, there's times where we disagree with someone, and there's arguments, or you yell at someone, or they yell at you, and you need to figure out how to de-escalate that fast and make sure that we work towards resolution as opposed to just conflict and butting heads with each other. So we're going to go through some of Anna's great tips on what to do. They're for children, but a lot of times when we work in the workplace, people act like children. I know I do at times, and I'm sure you do as well. Let's go through the different tips, see how we can apply them both at our home lives, with our friends, and of course, with our coworkers. Tip number one, and all of this is before you say something you regret. Think about whatever you're going to do, and before you say something silly like, you're so lazy or you have no motivation, say something better like, let's get started. Why let's get started? It involves both people, both parties doing the action. So if you have someone who's not getting their work done, before they actually sit back and yell at you and say, I'm not doing this, I don't want to do it, especially a child, say, let's get started. It gives them a sense of ownership, and it also gives you a sense of ownership to work with them as well. So remember, let's get started on the next one. Tip number two, instead of arguing with your child, or in this case, maybe with a coworker, and it could be a child or it could be a friend, say something like, I care about you too much, or I love you too much to argue. This diffuses the situation. It gives them a sense to understand that you still care. Even though you may be in disagreement, which is okay to do, you can disagree and commit and still care about the person and their feelings. By doing so, it gives them an opportunity to see, hey, this isn't personal. This is a disagreement between two people who are trying to act mature. So make sure you say, hey, I care about you, but I want to discuss this rationally as opposed to having an argument. Tip number three, this is a great one, and this happens to many kids, but believe it or not, adults too. When someone's having a tantrum, they're yelling, they're screaming, their emotions are out of control or emotionally hijacked, you can say to them, let me know when you're calm so we can talk. In doing so, it gives that person a chance to calm down. Ask them to take a deep breath, maybe take a deep breath yourself, and encourage them to say, hey, this is hard, we get it, but take a breath, let's figure this out, as opposed to using emotions and a yelling contest. So say to them, let's take a moment and let's talk when you're calm. Our next tip, this is a great one. Instead of telling someone what to do, especially a child, but even adults, give them a choice. People like choices, people like to own their own destiny. Say to them, what would you rather do, A or B? In doing so, it gives them the opportunity to think about their feelings and what it might do. They may not like both the choices, but they have to make one of them, as opposed to you saying, you've got to do A, you don't have a choice. Give them a choice. Our last tip. How can we solve this? And it's great to give someone the power to solve things. So giving them that opportunity by saying, how can we solve this? Or how can we make a solution that's going to work? Helps anyone out, especially a child, but even adults like you and me. And it's so important for them to feel that, because when they feel that, they feel empowered. And feeling empowered is really important. We want to keep it positive. For example, if someone is running, don't say, don't run, say, can you walk, please? The same thing is if someone's writing a report incorrectly, don't say, don't write it this way. Hey, would you mind writing it in this format or this style? It gives them more power, and it helps them solve the problem. So remember to ask them, how can we solve this? That's it for this week's EQ video tip. Hopefully you enjoyed the tips that Anna provided to us. Remember, we're all kids at heart, so while the tips are made for children, believe it or not, they work on adults, friends, family members, siblings, parents even, you name it. Take a moment to utilize these tips, use them to your best ability, and remember to create one-liners just for yourself as well that will help defuse confrontations that you might have with someone else. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.